Buenos dias. Bienvenidos a Resting Iglesia. Mi nombre es Judy Bethman. Formo parte de su cuerpo del servicio del domingo 30 de octubre de 2022. Ahora aquí a algunos anuncios. Early birds meet Sunday mornings, 9:30 via Zoom. The link is in the weekly email and on the website. Upcoming speakers for November. The 6th, Reverend Kamatara. The 13th, Dr. Edward Burbaugh. The 20th, Jean Geringer. And the 27th, Peggy Shin will be back. Okay, due to lack of numbers, Wellspring's Thanksgiving dinner will be postponed until next year. Thursday evening videos will continue on October 20. Oh, it's not October, it'll be November. We're talking about Thursday night.
November 10th.
No.
Thursday night continues.
Right, but I have October 27th here, and that we've already had that.
November 3rd.
Oh, I've been sick this week, so when I came yesterday, okay, so Lunch Bunch is back. Tuesday, November 8th at 11:30, Cracker Barrel, thank you. We'll see that, okay. Yes, now the Thursday evening, so that would be the 5th. Yeah, they're continuing. What day would they? The 3rd, thank you. Okay. The New Thought Ladies Lunch is going to take a hiatus for the months of November and December. You might come back on January. We'll see. Next Saturday, the New Horizons Band will be playing at Atkinson Recital Hall at 3 o'clock. I am having a limited role at this concert because of my infirmities with my elbow. I am conducting one number, but you'll see me madly racing around the percussion section. So, okay, now what? All right. And lastly, our prayer team remains ready to serve and support you. You may request via our webpage. Our prayer team meets virtually on Tuesdays at 4:15 to pray with you. Consider sitting quietly in your space during that time, because we know that we are all one in spirit, and the energy of prayer knows no limits. As we invoke Spirit, let us breathe in and then release that breath. And as we release all the cares of this past week, all the burdens, all the sorrows. We acknowledge all the joys, all the happiness that we embellish as we go through our lives. What a wonderful thing life is. So we invite Spirit, who we know is all around us, ever present, always our guide, our companion, and we can tap into Spirit at any time What a blessing that is. Spirit, come into our hearts in this facility. Come into our hearts, not only our hearts, but the hearts of all the humans in this world. Help us to open. Help us to relax. Help us to love. As we continue in our service, may we be of service to you and to the universe. We know that this is so, and so it is. All right, please stand if you are able, and we'll sing Open Our Eyes. Open my eyes that I may see glimpses of truth thou hast for me. Place in my heart the wonderful key that shall unclasp and set me free. Silently now I wait for thee. Ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my eyes, illumine me, Spirit divine. Open my ears that I may hear voices thou sendest clear. And while the wave notes fall on my ear, everything false will disappear. Silently now I wait for thee. Ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my eyes, illumine me, Spirit divine. Open my mouth and let me bear gladly the Lord truth everywhere. Open my heart and let me breathe there, love with thy children thus to share. Silently now I wait for thee. Ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my eyes, illumine me, Spirit divine. Oh, please be seated, and let us read our vision, mission, and affirmation. Our vision: to elevate spiritual consciousness in our world. Our mission: to support individual spiritual quests through celebration, study, counsel, loving fellowship, and service. Our affirmation: I know that I or called love. So commit showing up for myself, for others, for the spiritual community, and for all who cross my path. I am love in action in the here and now. All right, and it's my privilege to introduce our guest soloist, Mr. Doug Adams.
This is a song called Going Home. I heard Paul Robeson singing at a concert in Carnegie Hall that was recorded. And I chose it for Day of the Dead, although it could be going home through meditation. I think it really works for Day of the Dead as well. The music was written by Dvorak, and the words were it comes from the New World Symphony. So he wrote a symphony using folk melodies, and he made a classical symphony, and then one of his students wrote words to make it back into a folk song again. Going home. Before I go singing it, I better get it in the right key. Going home, going home, I'm just going home. Quiet like some still day, I'm just going home. It's not far, just close by, through an open door. Work all done, care laid by, going to fear no more. Mother's there expecting me, father's waiting too. Lots of folks gathered around, all the friends I knew. All the friends I knew. Going home, going home, I'm going home. Nothing lost, just gain. No more fret nor pain. No more stumbling on my way. No more longing for the day. Going to roam no more. Morning star lights the way. Restless dreams all gone, shadows gone, break of day, real life just begun. There's no break, there's no end, just a living on, wide awake with a smile. We'll go on and on, going home, I'm just going home. It's not far, just close by, through an open door. I'm just going home, going home, going home.
That was just lovely, Doug. Thank you. All right. right, the reading for this morning comes from the Science of Mind textbook, and there's a chapter on immortality written by Ernest Holmes, and it's quite lengthy, and so I'm going to skip around in the chapter. The question might arise in our minds, where shall we go when we die? Shall we engage in activity or shall we be inactive? These are natural questions. Where shall we take this marvelous mind and subtle body? If today is a logical continuance of yesterday, then all of the tomorrows which stretch down the vista of eternity will be a continuity of experiences and remembrance. We shall keep on keeping on. We should continue in our own individual stream of consciousness, but forever and ever expanding. Not less, but ever more. More and still be more ourselves. While I believe in other men's revelations, I am sure only of my own. I look upon the belief in immortality neither as a vague dream nor a forlorn hope, but as a proven fact. One cannot doubt that which he knows to be so, and why should he deny the evidence of his senses, his reason, his personal experiences, in one field more than another? Immortality, or the continuation of personal existence beyond this life, has been so completely demonstrated to me that it would be unthinkable for me to assume any other opposite position, even for the purposes of debate. Here within myself is something that knows. Here is something that knows that is, and knows that life itself moves with a tide as irresistible as the recurring seasons. The average man desires to live beyond the grave. In most instances where this desire is lacking, we find those who experience in this world have been so negative that their greatest hope is for utter oblivion, a completeness of nothingness. The average man desires an eternal progress and everlasting expansion, a complete reconciliation between this life and the grave and everlasting existence. Even the best of men feel that their lives have been marred by incompleteness. 9 out of 10 people believe in some type of immortality, which demonstrates that people not only wish to believe, but that in all the faces of all the difficulties, disappointments, and disillusionments, they actually do believe. And so we prepare not to die, but to live. The thought of death should slip from our consciousness altogether, and when this great event of the soul takes place, it should be beautiful, sublime, a glorious experience. As an eagle, freed from its cage, soars to its native heights, so the soul is freed from the home of heavy flesh. That soul will rise and return unto its Father's house, naked and unafraid. When death shall come, and the spirit freed shall mount the air, and wander afar in the great nowhere, it shall go as it came, freed from sorrow, sin, and shame, and naked and bare, through the upper air shall go alone to the great nowhere. Hinder not its onward way, grieve not o'er its form of clay, for the spirit, free now from the clod, shall go alone to meet its God. And now, it's my great pleasure to turn the service over to our beloved Vickie Avery.
Thank you, Barry. That was very nice. Buenos días, Wellspring. Feliz Dia de los Muertos. We have a brief little video as an introduction to Day of the Dead.
Dia de los Muertos has begun.
See, a long time ago, there was this family. The papa, he was a musician. He and his family would sing and dance and count their blessings. But he also had a dream, to play for the world.
Hey, hold still. Look up, a ver. That is a doorknob. Well, what are you doing?
I'm walking like a skeleton, blending in.
Dia de los Muertos is the one night of the year our ancestors can come visit us. We put their photos on the ofrenda so their spirits can cross over.
¡Alebrijes! We're your family, mijo. Tía Rosita? Sí. Papa Julio?
Hola.
Tía Victoria?
Never forget how much your family loves you.
In all the research that I did about Day of the Dead, it was very strongly presented that Day of the Dead is not the Mexican Halloween. A lot of times people confuse that because they fall at about the same time. The belief of Halloween is that we wear masks to deceive the spirits that come so that they don't take us. And the face painting for Day of the Dead is to honor the spirits of our ancestors, of our beloved. So they're way different. But yes, it does look very festive. So, but it is not Mexican Halloween. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the facts in history. A lot of people have said, I don't know anything about Day of the Dead. So, and I learned a whole bunch more doing this research. So, Day of the Dead is a day of joy, not of mourning. And at its heart, it acknowledges death as a key part of the human experience, something to be celebrated. It originated in Mexico and Central America about 3,000 years ago. Originally, the Aboriginal people, the Aztecs, Maya, and the Toltecs celebrated. That's our first known information about Day of the Dead. And it's intertwined with All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day. And All Saints' Day on November 1st is to acknowledge the children that have passed, and All Souls' Day, November 2nd, is to acknowledge the adults that have passed. It is a celebration of life. That's why the bright colors and the music and the dancing and the food, it's a festival. And the belief is rather than death ending life, new life comes from death. And doesn't that sound like New Thought? Like our spirit is eternal and lives on? So we remember and celebrate the lives of our departed loved ones. It's filled with music and dancing. 12 symbols for Day of the Dead. We saw a little bit here in the introduction from Coco, one of the Disney productions. The altars or ofrendas are set up, constructed to honor our loved ones. And the ofrenda is the offerings that are given for our beloveds that come back from the dead. And it has now since become that the altar is also known as the ofrenda. And the calavera is the skull, and it's the name of the loved one is usually painted on the forehead of the skull and put on the ofrenda. We have the pan de muerta. It's the bread of the dead. We put bread and water out so that when our loved ones make the journey from the underworld back to the living, they can be refreshed, have something to eat and something to drink. The carnations, or I'm sorry, the marigolds are called the Flor de Muertos, and they are usually orange, sometimes yellow, and they are the flower that it was chosen because of its pungent odor, and it is believed that the odor attracts the spirits. So from the cemetery where the grave sites are decorated, all the way on the paths to the loved one's home, there are marigold petals so that they can smell and be drawn back to their altar. And copal is an ancient incense that was used in the Mesoamerican sacred rites. I didn't burn it. It is rather strong. And the papel picado is the paper banners. And of the 4 elements that are represented on the ofrenda, it represents air. Some places, if they have a larger area, will put up tapestries called tapete de arena, and they depict death in a very humorous, whimsical way. Angelitos are the little angels, and those are put up in honor of the children who have passed. And the calaca is the skeletons. You'll see a lot of people dressed up as skeletons. Sometimes the altars are decorated with skeletons as well. And there's a female skeleton that is an upper class woman from the 1900s called La Catrina. And she is a very common character at the celebrations of Day of the Dead. And the whole carnival-like celebration is called comparse. And that is where people dress up in costumes. You saw the skeleton faces, and there's lots of music, lots of dancing. It's a huge celebration of life, even though they're celebrating death, because death is not the end. So on the ofrenda, there are elements of, there are objects of the 4 elements. For water, which we have, a glass of water. Air, which is the paper banners. Earth is represented by the bread, and fire is the candles. And it can also be the incense burning as well. We have the marigolds for their strong scent again to draw and direct the spirits. Monarch butterflies are often put on the altars or used as decorations. I couldn't find any because they'd all migrated south for the winter, but they are believed back in the Aztec belief tradition is that the butterflies hold the spirits of the departed. So that is represented there. And then sugar skulls are made, pressing into a mold and making little sugar skulls and very decoratively with different colors and stuff as a fun reminder of the cycle of life, and also something especially for the kids to have a little sweet treat during the festivities. And there's 7 colors that are represented in the Day of the Dead. Yellow represents light. It's an Aztec tradition that light guides us on the journey, so that the yellow will draw and direct the spirits to the altar and to the festivities. Orange, also light, but specifically represents the sun, again, to guide the spirits to the altars, back to our loved ones. Black is a pre-Columbian symbol representing the kingdom of the dead. And white is just the opposite, representing sky, hope, purity, and innocence. And that's to also remind that the souls get a fresh start, a clean slate to start anew. Pink represents all the joyous qualities of Day of the Dead. It's for the positivity of the celebration of life. Purple is the opposite, where it represents pain, grief, and suffering. And often families will burn purple candles just to help them work through their feelings of the loss. And the red color represents the blood of life. So Day of the Dead is celebrated all around the world. Different cultures have different ways of celebrating. So it is believed, though, that mourning can be a very isolating thing. Some people want to be in community to connect with others going through a similar experience. So in China, their Day of Dead celebration is called the Ghost Festival. The Buddhists and Taoists have this festival every year, and it's so that the ghosts and the spirits, they come from the lower realm and mingle amongst the living. To me, that kind of sounded like zombies. But in Cambodia, it's called Ancestors' Day, where the gates of hell open and souls walk among the living, but not in a fearful way. They are always welcomed. And that's the thing about Day of the Dead. Any of these celebrations, the spirits are welcomed. They want to connect with the living, and the living want to connect with their ancestors. And there again, that's the difference between Halloween and Day of the Dead. In North and South Korea, it's called Kuseok, and it's a harvest festival similar to our Thanksgiving, where families will visit the grave sites and spend time with their beloveds. And in Nepal, it's called Gejatar. It's the festival of the cows. I have no clue why, but people dress up as cows and parade around town celebrating death. I don't know. A Big Mac is just walking down the street there, but I don't know. So as you saw, that little clip from Coco, a Walt Disney studio, presented that a few years back. So the Day of the Dead celebration had been sort of isolated in Mexico and Central America, but it has gained worldwide popularity, if you will. And here in the United States, with the larger cities having a larger Latin population, it has become a very popular fiesta or celebration. And Coco, the Walt Disney presentation, it grossed over $800 million, so you knew it was popular. It won an Oscar, a Golden Globe, and several other awards. So again, it introduced Day of Dead to some people who have maybe never heard of it before, and it's done in a way that it's fun. So, and here's one. In America, the Barbie de los Muertos. They made a Barbie Day of the Dead doll. Has blue black braids, black mermaid dress, and skull makeup with marigolds. It sold out in a matter of minutes when it went online. So Day of the Dead has become very popular. And again, a lot has to do with the geography, again, with the big cities and the larger populations that have brought their older traditions now into contemporary America. So, let's look at some slides, and then I'll do a little summary. The slides will just go over and show you some of the things talked about. There's an example of an altar. You can see the skulls and the bread, the candles. Next one, please. And there's the papels, the element of air with the paper banners. There's the marigolds. And those are examples of the sugar skulls that are brightly painted. This is a picture of several thousand years ago of skulls, and this is representing a celebration of Day of the Dead many, many centuries ago. And there's some folks dressed up with, again, the skull painting of the face and their outfits. And that's in La Catrina. And here's some folks dancing, having a good time, celebrating life, inviting the deceased loved ones. Okay, so those are just some examples of what we've talked about. So I just want to quickly go back over Day of the Dead. It welcomes back souls of our deceased loved ones. It's a joyous occasion. The roots are celebrated back from about 3,000 years ago, and there's been many evolutions of the traditions over the years. As the Spanish conquistadors came in the 1600s, they brought with them their cultures, their Catholicism. So it's now a blend of the Mesoamerican ritual, the original Day of the Dead celebrations, European rituals, and the Spanish culture with the religious aspect involved. The origins of Day of the Dead go back to the Aztecs, and when the person dies, it is believed that they make a journey to the land of the dead. There's 9 levels that take several years to accomplish. That's why they keep coming back and visiting their loved ones. And then finally, the person's soul reaches Mictlan, the final resting place. So the Day of the Dead is where souls are honored guests and are invited. That's why they have the food to help them on their journey. And it is believed that if you remember them, they never cease to exist. And so it is.
Vickie, before you, could you take the microphone and talk about what you put on her ofrenda, and why you chose what you chose? Because that's an art in and of itself.
Yesterday, October 29th, was the year anniversary of our beloved Martha Ward's passing. And some of the items on the ofrenda here on the altar are to honor her and her likes. Here we have the traditional marigolds, and this is the copal incense with the lighted candles. We didn't light actual candles. The painted skull, the pan de muerto, the bread and the water. Martha had a thing about potato chips, and she also loved Cape Cod, so she loved Cape Cod potato chips. Her pendulum is there. She was into dowsing. She actually had a couple of pendulums because if the first one didn't give her the answer she wanted, she'd use her second one. She was a little independent, yeah. She loved to knit, and she loved her animals. This is a picture of Max, who now lives with me, and this is Max and Decker had passed. She said that she was going to stick around until the boys passed, but Spirit had another plan for her. These maps were found in her glove box of her van, and she had traveled to every place here. She loved to travel, and pictures over here are two of her favorite trips that she took to Egypt and to Peru. And this is her certificate as a practitioner. And she had lots of CDs in her van, and these were taken from her van. She loved the Irish tenors, and she loved Armand and Angelina, and a short while before she passed, I turned her on to Katie Lang, so she got a lot of Katie Lang. So those are some of the items to honor Martha. We'll do an affirmative prayer. If you'd like to just get comfortable in your seats. Mother, Father, God, Great Spirit, we are grateful for this time to come together as a spiritual community. We today honor those of our beloveds who have passed. We hold them dear in our hearts, knowing that they live on because we remember them. This is a time of celebration, the joy of living, and all is well in the world, knowing that we have these memories. We had the loved ones that helped us on our own spiritual journey. And so, as we come together as a spiritual community to love and support each other on each one's spiritual journey, we give great thanks for knowing that all is well in the world. And we say together, and so it is. And now it's time for special music again with our beloved Doug and Barry.
We got to, Nancy and I got to experience the Day of the Dead once in a little town, Pátzcuaro, Mexico. And when you talk about, that's kind of the epicenter. When you talk about marigolds, it's not just a marigold in your lapel. There's thousands of them, millions of them, and incense burning. We went to our friend Gloria's, the graveyard. It was just a little raggle-taggle graveyard with weeds until in Iwatsio, a little village. And they kept saying, let's go to the graveyard. I said, why do they want to go to the graveyard? Millions of marigolds, incense burning, packed with people. And I said, well, where's your family? I hadn't met her family yet. And she said, oh, walk this way. And she goes tromping across the graves to the other side. And she goes, here's my niece and my sister and my nephew. And here's my uncle. And here's my aunt. They're having a picnic out there. It was a I said your love lifted me higher, higher than I've ever been before. Keep it up, my desire. I'll be by your side forevermore. Your love is lifting me higher, higher and higher. Your love is lifting me higher, higher and higher. I once was so downhearted, disappointment was my only friend. Then you came along and that departed, and I never saw its face again. Your love is lifting me higher, higher and higher. Your love is lifting me higher, higher and higher. Well, I'm so glad that I found you. That grain of sand has turned into a pearl. Within me and all around me, I can't stand up and face this crazy world. Your love is lifting me higher, higher and higher. Your love, your love, your love is lifting me higher, higher and higher. I said your love lifted me higher, lifted me higher. Your love, your love, your love is lifting me higher, higher and higher. Your love is lifting me higher, higher and higher.
When do you go on the road?
I was thinking, when do we have a revival?
You know, we're so lucky that this small church has professional musicians that come and play for us. I mean, it's one of the miracles that is Wellspring. It really is. All right. How are we doing with slides? Okay. As we acknowledge and receive our virtual and in-person gifts, we give great thanks for the offerings already given and those we will be receiving, because we know that giving and receiving are both part of the one flow. We affirm that they are also a part of that flow. We bless these gifts and know that they are multiplied throughout our community. Uh-oh, next Sunday is daylight savings time. So it's spring forward and fall back. So it's not 10 till noon right now. It's 10 to 11 on daylight savings time. Okay. And we thank you for joining us today. There are a number of folks who have contributed to the production of this service, and we are grateful for their service. Excuse me. And we thank you for joining us today in Zoom land and here in the sanctuary. And lastly, stay around in the Zoom meeting after the service to visit or join us in the social hall. What is Now, please stand if you are able and read the benediction with me, followed by the congregational song. Spirit in the midst of us is mighty. Joy, peace, and eternal life are our true nature and flow through us into the world, and so it is.